This is a disturbing one, and there's really one of two things going on here. The extreme horrors that are postpartum depression, and I'm not saying that any sort of, tongue-in-cheek way or any dismissive way. It's hell. And the things that go through one's mind are, utterly scary and terrifying. To have to live through that, and then to be with somebody who's going through that, and I'm speaking from experience, so I'm not discounting this in any way, shape, or form, or this person is evil. I'm going to likely go with number one. We just don't know. Authorities in Missouri have leveled felony child endangerment charges against Mariah Thomas, a 26-year-old mother, following a tragic incident where her 1-month-old daughter was found dead after allegedly being placed in an oven.
A hot oven.
A hot oven. According to court documents obtained by HuffPost, the harrowing event unfolded on Friday when Kansas City police responded to a distressing 911 call reporting burn injuries on the infant. The baby was pronounced dead at the scene by firefighters. Thomas purportedly claimed that she accidentally placed her baby daughter in the oven instead of her crib while attempting to put her down for a nap.
So let's take that apart for a second. So when crib and an oven are two different things, objects, but the oven itself needs to be turned on and hot for it to be warm. So there was a whole process of events that then led to this tragic event. So it wasn't just, I mistook the oven for the crib. It was a hot oven. So it had been turned on at some point.
Yeah.
And then as you open the oven, you're not acknowledging, clearly that, wow, this is hot. This is not a crib. So whatever overtook her, if it was postpartum depression, if it was mental illness, if it was a combination of both, whatever it was so profound that she didn't snap to attention and have that motherly instinct that goes, whoa, danger. And that's horrible.
A series of events leading up to the tragedy unfolded as follows. Thomas and the baby were described as being in good spirits by her father and were observed awake that morning. Thomas left the house with the baby around 8 a.m., but later around 1 p.m., she called her mother in a state of hysteria, admitting to the grave mistake. Upon returning home, Thomas's husband discovered the unimaginable scene, with investigators noting apparent thermal injuries on the baby's body and significant burn marks on a blanket found nearby. Despite her arrest, Thomas declined to speak with detectives. Jackson County Prosecutor Jean Peters Baker expressed her somber gravity of the situation, stating, "We acknowledge the gruesome nature of this tragedy, and our hearts are weighted by the loss of this precious life. While the Jackson County Medical Examiner has yet to determine the exact cause of the baby's death," I don't know, being in an oven, Baker alleges that Thomas knowingly put her child in harm's way, leading to the fatal outcome. It's currently being held at the Jackson County Detention Center. Thomas awaits her legal proceedings. Neither the prosecutor's office nor the circuit court has responded to inquiries but additional information or legal representation for Thomas. If convicted, she faces the possibility of a lengthy prison sentence. And this, to me, just seems kind of crazy for putting a baby in an oven. 10 to 30 years or even life, as outlined in court documents. I don't know. I mean, this is someone who's clearly very mentally ill.
Yeah.
There's something wrong here. It doesn't sound like unless there's a new side to this story that we're going to learn that she's completely evil or out of her mind, one of the two.
Or was there drug use?
Or was there? Yeah, I can't say I've heard this one before. Heard a lot of horrible postpartum stuff. I mean, we think of the ones that go drive their kids into the lake and all sorts of horrible shit where because of that mental illness that's where it goes. This one. And I'm not sitting here let's crucify the woman, but clearly she shouldn't be out in society at all. She better get an attorney and that attorney, better be fighting for her on a mental health basis, because I would think there'd be a pretty good argument for that here. I'd be curious as to know if there's more history, if there's been other signs of postpartum going on in that household. I'd imagine the husband would have some semblance of, understanding or awareness of that going on, which maybe that can kind of put some of these pieces together. But God, what a horrible story of what, people are capable of. And that's a scary thing with that. And it's one of those things where you really need to have people around you for that period of time if you're going through that. But it's not always a feasible thing. I mean, it's usually somebody's got to go work and keep things rolling. But that's just how dangerous that can be, because you can seem like a very normal, functioning human being, cares for your kid, and then suddenly it's just like it's like just distorted reality to such an extreme that one can think about either doing this with a purpose of like you don't want the child, or you are literally not knowing what the hell you're doing and thinking it's a crib. I don't necessarily buy that she thought it was a crib. I'm thinking there's probably something there where didn't want the child around, in that deep state of depression that accompanied it. That is, it's almost like being possessed, I would say. And it's a weird thing, but it really kind of is in some ways.
Well, and I speak from some personal experience. I never had postpartum depression. I've never had kids, but I've had some hormonal shifting that's gone on. Mm-hmm. And the wicked shit that it does to you is startling. So, when you have a child, your hormones are absolutely raging, whether you've got too much of something, not enough of another. And it just can absolutely warp the way you think until you get things, stabilized. So it would be real curious to follow up on this story and see what exactly was happening with her. Now, it doesn't mention in the story, was there, prolific drug use of any sort? That would make more sense.
Yeah. I mean,
but I just, this seems so calculated almost.
Well, the thing is, a lot of things with that are, and that's what makes it spooky and hard to understand for a lot of people. And it makes people look very evil because the acts that are portrayed are evil. Is the person evil, though? Usually it's something they snap out of, and it's like not their personality whatsoever. But the acts that they committed in those moments were evil. And it's hard to reconcile because it doesn't make any sort of logical sense. And there's not a lot of ways of explaining it away. And a lot of ways from moving on from those evil acts either. Where, you can go on with life and go, well, yep, oops, put the kid in the oven. Well, a few years later, I'm back and I'm doing my darndest at Dunkin' Donuts. It's just, how
do you bounce back? Look at the husband, the dad.
Oh my God.
He witnessed it. The aftermath of it. He didn't witness, obviously, it happening.
And then he's trying to put to it like, oh my God. I mean, because I'm sure, nobody thinks people are capable of what they're capable of.
Yeah. This is just such a profound tragedy. And, I'm hoping that there weren't warning signs, because if there were and they were missed, whether it was her saying to her doctor, I don't feel right. And then the doctor going, oh, you'll be fine.
Well, again, what do you do with the warning signs though, either, especially if they're just kind of like smaller warnings? It's like a lot of that. It's like, okay, we'll just keep an eye on it. We'll try and get you some medication, or sometimes it is literally kind of let time do its thing. And there's not necessarily a lot of warning signs, you can predict. I mean, you can go, there's something wrong here. You can identify that's what's going on. But if the warning signs are just kind of smaller things here and there, not necessarily like, I'm going to go put the kid in the oven, that's something that he will beat himself up for the rest of his life. Of what if I did something different? But the thing is, there isn't anything you could have. This is its own monster, and it does its own thing. Mm-hmm. And that's why I say it's like being possessed. And I don't know any other way of putting it. I mean, that's kind of the simplest way of kind of understanding it, I think. But my God, just something though to, I think if anybody takes anything out of this, it's not to be, ooh, look at this horrible story. Let's all get, like talk about the baby in the oven, or it's not that. It's be aware of this dynamic, be aware of this being a real thing, and be aware that people are capable of doing very horrible things when they are suffering from this, whether it be yourself or someone you care about or someone you barely know the warning signs. But again, what do you do with those warning signs? The best thing is to have someone with that person as they go through that horrible journey so they can come out on the other side a better person. Unfortunately, for this mother, that was not the case.
Sick of the ads?
We are too.
Start listening with no commercials now and get access to all of our episodes in advance of everyone else.
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
True Crime Today Premium Plus.
Sign up now.